So welcome back to another episode of The Connoisseur and the Chemist. I'm here with Tyler, actually my Brew president of the Brew Club.
Hey, I'm Tyler Fry.
I'm his Padawan.
So what are we doing today?
So actually we're going to be bottling. I brought some of my Kolsch over and a bunch of bottles, and basically I'm going to kind of hand it off to Tyler, and he's going to teach us all how to bottle correctly. Because let's face it, I've had some rockets and I painted the ceiling. Actually, like last week, we painted the ceiling with one of our beers. So, it's time we learn the correct method.
All right, so we're gonna bottle
correctly, yeah, and
right,
sanitize everything.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. This should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun when you're involved.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Well, cheers. Oh, who brewed this shit? Just kidding, guys.
Hey guys, so starting out bottling just begins with really good sanitation. You gotta remember sanitation. Sometimes it can be a pretty messy operation, and as much as I love to mop my floors, I don't. So what I like to do is I like to set down a couple towels over my workstation. So right here you can see we got a couple towels down. This is really good at picking up like wart or star sand. If it gets all over the place, then it's easy. I just toss them in the dirty laundry pile. But you can see Caleb here is getting these two bottles in. Something to consider is a lot of people just really want to fully soak the bottles. You just have to kind of coat them. So what I like to do is grab a bottle in each hand, just kind of keep them upright, let it go for about 3 seconds, and then I just dump it out. And that's enough to coat all the bottles. You don't want to spend too much time doing it, but then again, you don't want to under sterilize them too, but just coating them is enough for the star sand to sanitize. So I just dump them in the bucket, put them on the bottle tree. If you don't have a bottle tree, a lot of times you can kind of just get a cardboard box like this. You can just dump about, put them upright, and just let them sit upright, and then before you go to put the beer in, just dump it one more time in the star sand bucket or in some waste bucket if you don't want to recycle your star sand, if you're concerned about the bottles being kind of nasty. But yeah, if you don't own a bottle tree, I highly recommend owning one. So we're gonna get our priming sugar going. What priming sugar does is it allows your beers to carbonate in the bottle. You're gonna use your residual yeast left over from your transfer. Those are gonna activate, produce more alcohol, produce more CO2 for you. So what you need to do is you need to get that sugar in solution. So what we're going to do is generally most kits recommend and you use about 500 mils of water. I like to use about 250 because the sugar is super soluble, so you don't have to have a really large volume of water. Plus I don't like to dilute my beers too much, so I'm going to do about 250 mils here. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm going to set off the stove. I'm going to let this go until about a boil, and then I'm going to add my sugar in. And then I'm going to let it boil for about 10 minutes, or simmer for about 10 minutes with the lid kind of cracked. And then I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes just to kind of let it rest and kind of cook the lid off, just kind of sterilize. And then when we get done with our transfer, this should be cool enough that we'll add it directly to the beer. And then we're going to stir it into the beer before we start bottling so that all the sugar is homogenized throughout the solution, so that each bottle gets a specific amount of sugar. A lot of star sand. It's pretty tasteless and inert thing. It does
star sand beer.
I mean, if you've ever had it, it is kind of slick and waxy, but it doesn't have much of a taste. So we're just going to walk it over here. So your hands are sanitized. When you're moving around the kitchen, be cognizant of everything that's being touched. Like, don't touch the stove at the bottom. Everything has to just kind of flow real smoothly through the air. You don't want to touch anything. You know, you don't want to disturb anything. You notice the ceiling fan is off. The reason why the ceiling fan is off is because I don't want to aerosol a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Also, don't zoom in on that ceiling fan because it's really dirty and I'm embarrassed about that. So we're going to come over here. I'm going to pull this bung off.
It'll be on the other side of you, actually.
So if you're done with the bong, go ahead and just toss it in the sink. Or if you want to save the yeast, I'll put the bong back in some star sand like there. and let that guy just kind of float. Okay, now remember, I haven't touched anything to anything. This didn't touch that. This didn't touch it. I didn't lick it. You're gonna go right in here, okay? And then I'm gonna put this down here. Now, this is really important. Do not agitate the beer. You want as little oxygen in this as possible. I understand, like, we're gonna get some air in there, but here's the deal. Your beer is at a really fragile point where it's prone to oxidation, and we don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna start this going out kind of really slow here at the beginning. And I started up at the top. Kind of get that down, okay? So that there's a little bit of trickle, there's some foam, that's okay. Once this builds up, we want to reduce as much oxygen as possible. Now, I'm going to just set this down at the bottom. And the reason being, one, I do want a little bit of that residual yeast. So if it does start to kind of pick up some yeast, that's okay. And if you're not seeing some, go ahead and grab some yeast. This is going to help you with your bottling. Now, you see how it's getting opaque? That's okay. Once it's pulled all that fluid out, there's going to be no more yeast where this is setting, and it's going to start running clear again. But you want it to be running clear. And go ahead and set it all the way down there. Pull some stuff up, put it in the bucket. It's not going to ruin your beer. You do want to grab some yeast, so go ahead and get it. Now it's starting to run clear again. You can see it's back to that really nice amber color. So yeah, just let it go, because what you don't want to do is just sit here and hold it. I used to do that before I had the cap. There's like a little kind of half-inch cap that goes on the bottom there, and the reason is that can sit in your tube and not pull the tube. It actually, fluid goes into the cap and then up into the auto siphon. So it's okay to just let it sit. Now, I don't always love just having my bucket exposed because I'm really paranoid about contamination. So I have the sanitized lid here, and we're just gonna put the sanitized lid over the top, just like this. You know, just let it go. Now you just gotta sit back and you can get to your other tasks. You can get your water going for your sugar. You can start sanitizing your bottles, because this is gonna take a minute. But before you do all that, there's another thing you have to do. You have to know how done your beer is. And I think we have a hydrometer. Nope, you dropped yours, so we're using one hydrometer. Okay.
Mine's gone. Rest
Well,
in peace.
lucky for you, mine is still down here because I just recently transferred. So,
Fantastic.
cool.
I'm so happy
Now,
with
my cylinder is bigger. I think yours is a little smaller. So, do you want to use mine, yours? Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Okay. So here we go. Remember, so something about these things is they're really, really fragile. They're not super expensive, but they suck to buy. So when I'm using my hydrometer, it never leaves this cylinder, which means I never set it on the counter. When I'm washing it, I wash it inside of the cylinder. Fill it with water, dump it. Fill it with water, dump it. I know more people that have broke these things than I don't.
Good.
So
advice.
I always just keep it in this. If you're cleaning it, if you're drying it. So when I dry mine, I keep this thing like at a 15-degree angle so water can drain out, but this won't go anywhere. So if my wife is doing dishes and she sets a cup on it, she won't accidentally break it because it's in its nice little protective cage. So I always keep it in here. The only time it ever goes in and out is between uses. When it's done drying, it goes back in its little box. And when I'm using it, it goes directly into the column. Gently, you slide it in there, gentle touch. It's like it's her first time. You want to be nice and gentle and just slide it in there. Don't break them. I mean, it's just a pain in the ass, especially if you're transferring and your homebrew shop is closed. Well, what's your final gravity? You'll never know. So we're gonna go ahead and open this. We'll just set this on top of the Star San bucket. Now this is kind of tricky because I am gonna generate a little bit of oxygenation, but we'll run it up the side, try to prevent as much oxidation as possible. Do not let your hose touch your cylinder because that's not cylinder or sterile. It is cylinder. I lied. It is cylinder, it's not sterile. So go ahead and fill that up. Don't worry about how much you're going to use because you're going to drink it, because now you're transferring your beer. It's time to drink it. Now I stop when I start to see that guy float. See how it floated up? Okay, good. Run it down the wall again. Put it back in the beer. Put your lid on. There. We have a nice isolated environment. Okay, now.
Sterile.
See how it's floating? We're gonna see where this guy finished at. I like to give it a good spin. Set it down. Okay. All right, so you want to wait till it spins around for the beer. So we're at beer right now, and it looks about what is that? So we got 10. So we got 10 down there. So we're at 10:02. So that's pretty dry. So whatever your yeast was doing, Caleb, sure chewed up a lot of your yeast. And we're at room temp, and that's what this thing is designed for, standard temperature and pressure, so it's designed for 65 degrees. It's about 65 degrees in here now because it's a beautiful late September in Grand Junction. So if you see that mark, so I guess, so let's go and zoom in on that, hold on. Let's go ahead and go to beer. Beer. If you notice there's so there's one, that's completely dry, and then we have 10, 20, 30. So we're gonna come down to here, we're gonna let it sit, and it's sitting just above. Stop, it keeps wanting to spin that left-handed or something. Alright, so we're gonna get down real low, and it looks that's about like 10:02 because it's about the second mark over there. So come over to this side, you can see the graduations. Yeah, so we're right there on that first one. Now it counts in 0.2 increments. So we're at 10:02. Pretty dry, but that's okay. You're gonna get way more alcohol, and that's fun. Now here's the deal. This is transferring.
Good.
We'll just shut the water off. Now we got a minute to just kind of hang out before the action starts, because there's gonna be a lot going on when we're bottling. So we're gonna pull out some glassware here. We're gonna pull out some nice Book Club Homebrew Club glassware. Ooh la la. And we're gonna avoid the avocado because that's baby's dinner.
Did I mention that he's the president of the Homebrew Club?
You don't.
I'm an underling.
Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna see how these taste, and then we're gonna leave a little bit left for whoever wants more. So here you go, Caleb.
I'm gonna take a little more.
Can't forget the cameraman, Kenny. All right, and then here we go, guys. Cheers.
All right. Gentile.
All right. It smells nice.
It's really dark for a Kolsch.
It is dark for Kolsch. It's actually not too bad. You know what? Look at that. Well, if you look at it in light, it is actually kind of it's kind of blunt. It's
supposed to be
darker,
a weedy color, I believe, right?
Kind of hay is what I would say. Kind of a golden straw or hay color.
So it's not.
No, wheat. No, that's way too light. Okay.
Okay.
It's good. I get lots of nice honey notes, kind of grainy. Now remember, you're drinking this kind of flat, so you're gonna get some flavors are gonna be accentuated, and some you're not really gonna get. But mostly, what I like to do is kind of drink this because I notice when a beer is kind of flat, sometimes I think off flavors tend to be a little more apparent. Because I just think beer tastes a little bit worse when it's not carbonated. So I think anything bad is gonna be accentuated, and anything good is gonna be kind of like toned down. So if you really want to judge a beer, I like to judge it flat because I think it's just like not as good of a thing. But that's my personal opinion. So I think a lot of fermentation off flavors tend to present themselves a little more when the beer is actually flat. But here's the deal: it tastes pretty good, and so that means when it's going to be carbonated, it's going to taste a lot better. And I'm not getting a lot of off flavors, but.
We just did an off-flavor tasting we tasted oxidation and hydrogen sulfide, which was quite delicious.
No, it's good. It's good.
Nice. Cool.
Good job. I'm excited. And you know, the color is a little brighter than I thought it would be. Gentile.
I feel like it tastes like a...
Okay, now we're starting to get to the end of the transfer. Something I like to do is I like to get the most beer out of it I can, so I like to find something. Here is a 16 by 1.75 to 2.125 Schrader valve baby buggy tube. So we're gonna put it right under our carboy here. Now remember, the auto siphon hasn't really moved, and if you're really gentle with it, generally I like to prop it up when there's a little more volume in here because you see how it disturbed that, but it wasn't too bad. So I like to get, I'm kind of greedy, so I like to get as much. Just get a bowl, put some Star San in there, and then you're just gonna pull like right out of the bowl. So, and if you gotta make more, and we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So we should be okay. 48. All right, so just use what you think you're gonna use. Let that sit for a second. Now we gotta get our bucket set up. So when you're bottling, height is kind of key. So since this is kind of gravity fed, we're gonna go up here. Get your hands all cleaned off.
Let me get hot beside you and clean my hands off.
Put that tip. Okay.
Let me rub that tip for you.
Now, leave this guy out. It's got a little black tip on it. It's like a little plunger that's kind of spring loaded. So when you're pushing up on it, liquid comes out. And when you just stop pushing the wand, and it'll stop the fluid from flowing. So go ahead and evacuate that. One side of this hose should be a little bigger than the other. So that's the one I'm going to put around the bottle, or the bottling bucket. So I'm going to put the tight end on the bottling one because there is a big size difference.
Tight end on the wand.
Tight end on the wand. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and grab the bottle. Just stick it in there to start with so that you don't touch anything to it. Keep this on the free hand. Put that in my thigh there so it's not going anywhere.
You want me to sanitize your thighs?
No. No, I do not. Oh, okay, if that happens, it's easy. Just stick it in the bucket. Okay. It's on. Okay. Go. Push, push, push. Remember, if these hoses get kind of stuck, you could just boil some hot water and dump it on the hose. That'll kind of cause it to expand. Okay, now, when you start your line, what you want to do is you want to make sure this is pushed down to evacuate all that air and get the water flowing, or the beer flowing through. There we go. So now we're going to slowly fill this guy. And what we're going to do is we're going to build an assembly line here. So one of us is going to bottle, and then the other one is going to cap. And what I like to do is usually get a couple of them going. So remember, get back on your towels. That way you're not making a mess. The saying is, happy wife, happy life. Now fill it all the way to the top, because when you remove the bottling wand, that displacement is going to give you about an inch of headspace, and that's how much you want. So then Caleb's going to put a cap on there.
Oh, just put your cap on there.
And then he puts the capper on there. Yeah, and go ahead and just, you'll feel it kind of pop.
Yep, do equal pressure.
There you go.
Boom. First bottle.
Okay, and then we're just going to keep running through. So as I'm filling, going to keep going.
Would you like to hand me one of those boxes?
Oh yeah, papers. We're all flipped up here. Okay. Pull that out there.
It's the only way to be bottling.
Now this is kind of fun because if the other guy is kind of a jerk like Caleb, you can race him, and you know, see who's quicker, the guy filling or the guy capping. And look at those little pussy capping motions there. Okay, so
I'm broken so many bottles.
Oh yeah.
Gentile.
So the kind of the nice thing about this red cap is that it doesn't break. So just give it hell. I prefer the red capper over the black one. The black ones we commonly see in home brewing, I noticed they don't work for some bottle styles. They don't work for New Belgium brewing. Sometimes they'll pop a Breckenridge bottle. So I got this red one here, and it's actually has a really nice feel to it. You can kind of feel it as it's stressing over the cap, and then it'll kind of pop. But you'll feel the tension kind of relax. It also, I think, the metal clamp that grabs the neck on the red capper is actually quite a bit bigger, so it doesn't squeeze. It doesn't squeeze the bottle as bad. So I have not broken a lot of bottles on this, and it tends to work on crazy foreign bottles too. I know sometimes Newcastle bottles cap kind of funny. So do some Mexican cerveza bottles. But if you got one of those like black cappers that generally comes with a lot of homebrew club kits, keep an eye out for this red one right here. I tend to have a lot more luck with it. It's got the magnet that'll hold the cap, just like most cappers, but it just feels a lot better when I use it too. I've used both, and I definitely prefer this one. Okay guys, so we're done. Looks like we got quite a few bottles of beers. I think we're about a little over 50. So that's fun. You know, so like I said, right now, now what you want to do is you just want to get clean up quick before beer dries, before it dries in your plastic. Get your hoses, run some hot water through them, scrub your bucket, dump your bucket, just get the beer out of everything as quick as you can. Get these guys out of any kind of light. What I like to do is box them up, throw a t-shirt over the top of them, put them in a closet, just keep the light off of them, put them somewhere that's kind of room temperature, anywhere from about 58 to 68 degrees, somewhere where it's pretty neutral temperature without a lot of fluctuation. And I like to check a bottle about every week. They should be ready in about 3 weeks. But you know, sometimes sooner, depends on how active your yeast is. But you know, just keep trying until they're ready. If your beer does not carbonate, you know, what I like to do is try giving them a shake to get that yeast worked up, and then give them another week. And if you still don't notice a difference in carbonation, add more yeast to them. It kind of sucks, you gotta pop all the tops and put them back in. Or fuck it, if you got a buddy with a kegging system, just dump all the bottles of beer into a keg, just take it to your buddy's house, have him keg it off, and then you just fill a couple growlers up once a week, you know? And there's a lot of ways to get around trouble when you're homebrewing, you know? There isn't one solution to every problem. And sometimes it's gonna take multiple solutions to fix a problem. But hopefully if you did everything right, you won't have any problems. But like I said, they're bound to happen. But here we go, we've got, we got about, what, 50 bottles here, I think? Yeah? 24. 48, close to 50 bottles.
Yeah.
So, and it was a pretty easy bottling day. Not a lot of big issues. The best way to avoid an issue is to just plan ahead and prep, you know, and take it easy. Just do one thing at a time. When you start running in multiple directions is when you start having issues. Remember, just take it slow, take it easy, and take your time. You know, relax, have a homebrew. So
Yeah, speaking of, this is a saison that you brewed.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is. So
It's
this is
delicious.
this
I'm
is,
gonna snag this one.
This saison here brewed. Yeah, this just sat. I didn't even transfer this. I'm not gonna lie. It sat for about a month in primary, and then I just kegged it off.
Maybe that's
So
the
yeah,
key.
you know, I got a nice French saison strain from Canna Creek, and they purchased it from BSI. But it's really nice. I let it free rise up into the lower 80s, and it's got nice hints of lemongrass and black pepper. Not super phenolic-y, but a little hint. But I thought it was alright. What do you think, Caleb?
I could not have said it better myself. It's like the undertones of like black pepper and the lemongrass. You do nasal that, you know, but it's not like effervescent and overpowering. And it's just like an extremely crisp beer.
Oh yeah, super light, nice for summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what they're designed for. They were for drinking. Saisons were for the farmers to drink after a hard day's work in the summer. So after a hard day's summer work, cheers.
Cheers.
And, thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah. All right, thanks guys for stopping by. Hopefully it was another exciting episode of The Connoisseur and the Chemist. You know, we did a lot of exciting things today. Tyler showed me a ton of stuff that I was doing incorrectly when bottling. So maybe we won't paint the ceiling anymore. You know, if you got any questions, comments, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'd love to hear some feedback. Unless you think my channel sucks, you can keep that shit to yourself. And I also need to give a shout out to Tyler, the Brew president, and also the Book Cliff Homebrew Club. Without this group of amazing people that I met, I probably wouldn't be here shooting video for you. So, thanks guys. Alright.
There you go.
Alright, ready?
Okay. Just do like hopefully
Take 6.
7.